Welcome to another episode. I am here with Jesse Berger, and we are here to talk about the development update. So, hey Jesse, thanks for coming on, and thank you for writing this development update.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Caleb. It's great to be here with you.
I don't know if a lot of people know how this works, but Packet is not a team like the average token project. It's not just a bunch of people hired under a CEO. There are a bunch of different projects with different teams, different people doing them. And so what Jesse did was went around to all the different groups of people who are doing different things and talked to them and assembled this. So Jesse, you're really doing God's work, and I do really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a cool process. It's definitely cumbersome to go around and get feedback from everyone. Everyone's in different time zones around the world. But the idea with these reports, which we've been doing for better part of a year now at least, is to just hear what people are building in the Packet ecosystem and try and get that documented so the community knows what's going on and what's being built with regards to the roadmap and beyond.
Yeah, to just get right into the development update. I mean, we have an upcoming Decimation, which it's news. It's kind of, we knew it was going to happen. It's nothing particularly new, but that's May 7th, which I don't know when you're watching this. Probably after this is done. So we're recording May 5th. So. Decimations, do you want to talk about the economics of Packet Decimations a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think this year is a really unique year because they do happen every 100 days. So with a 365-day year, you're not always going to get 4 in a year, but this year just happens to be one of those unique years where that happens. And because it's a 10% reduction in the block reward, you're actually seeing a true constraint over the course of a 12-month period in the amount that the average individual can mine. And with those yield reductions on the reward side going down, but technically speaking, the cost to mine, meaning your electricity costs, your internet costs, your living expense or commercial real estate expense for where you have your mining taking place is roughly going to be fixed or probably going up, then you're going to see some sort of effect occurring with the value of the coin and at what level people are going to actually be willing to sell those coins. So I just find these decimations to be, a very interesting, effect to the market.
Yeah, so clearly as the amount of coins being issued into the network starts to decrease, we expect that the market will tend to pick up, especially as we get a bit more on the utility side, which gets into our second point, which is the Cjdns update, and I guess I can kind of take that one. So what we've been doing on Cjdns, it's all written in C, and it's using libuv, the library that comes from Node.js. It's very out of date. We didn't really update libuv since 2013 or so when we just forked it, and that's not ideal. So what we're working on now is trying to get the code that is from libuv to move that into Rust. And we're not rewriting all of Cjdns in Rust. We may, but it's a little at a time. The idea is to do things a little bit at a time and get a feel for it. Rust is a very nice language. Obviously, it has certain people who are just absolute fanatics about it, but it does serve a purpose. What I like about Rust particularly is that you don't have the memory corruption vulnerabilities to the extent that you'd have them in C, C++. So anyway, working on getting the memory allocation, the hierarchical memory allocator moved into Rust, and that's been a major challenge because it's very complicated, and getting some of these base components moved over, it's going to be a big It's going to be a big win when we finished it because I believe Cjdns will become a lot easier to work on. But right now, we're kind of just slogging through the mud here on getting that moved over. And a related item on this is the Lightning Network, which we're also kind of plugging away on that. We have a guy Aldebaran. You'll see him a little bit in the packet chat. He's working on moving some of this improving the PLD, the Packet Lightning Daemon, and at this point we've got Packet Lightning Daemon to work. It's using JSON, so you can just like curl or do a request to it with like curl, and that's really nice because you can request it and it will give you the help directly in JSON, and then you can make requests to it with JSON. So I'm really excited about how the API on that is getting a lot easier to use. It's one of those fundamental things. We need to build our foundations, and that is one of the aspects. Another thing, which is actually not in this development update, but I've been working on it just today, is I've been looking at what it's going to take to get the introducer working so that we can start introducing all these PLD nodes that we're using a lot of them in development now. And obviously the Anode VPN app is PLD, and the Anode iOS app is using PLD. So as PLD matures and becomes fully functioning Lightning Daemon, all of our major wallet apps are going to be immediately Lightning compatible.
Absolutely, and it's interesting because we've been talking, with regards to the struggles that the wallets have with receiving transactions every block, and this is something that the greater crypto world really doesn't struggle with too much anymore, because most of these types of proof of work projects don't function in the exact same way as Packet, and because Packet's built off of Bitcoin code, these were issues that are so far in the past with Bitcoin that most people just don't remember them, or were before their time getting started with Bitcoin. And so we're seeing these struggles, whether it be people mining into wallets that just can't handle that level of transactions, and even some issues with the exchange wallets, and some challenges there. So Lightning is going to be a very significant evolution for the Packet project, both with just how people relate to these wallets, but also the type of technology that can be built for microtransactions, supporting microtransactions and near instant transactability within the Packet ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, you raise a really good point about other crypto projects, and I mean, the reality is they're not paying people every block. They're not paying people every minute. They're all saying, oh yeah, we have infinite scalability. No, they don't. They're just saying they have it. You think you have infinite scalability until you pay somebody 1440 times a day, and then when you pay somebody 1440 times a day, then you find out what your scalability really is, and that's what we're doing. And I mean, we've broken every wallet that we use. The most robust wallet we have right now is the one we started with, and that's because it's been rewritten by us in order to be that robust. But I don't care what kind of crypto or what kind of wallet you're using. If you start putting the kind of load on it that we're putting on the Packet wallet every day, you're going to start encountering these kinds of issues. And I mean, we want to encounter the issues because we want to solve them. The point of Packet is to be that scalable. And I think a lot of other projects, they're saying, oh yeah, it's fine, we don't see it. But the fact of the matter is, they're just not paying people very often. And you got the pool that pays people twice a day or once a week or something like that. The reason why they're doing that is because their project actually doesn't scale.
Yeah, it's just an incredible differentiator between the Packet project. And while we haven't even gotten to the place where we're putting the type of load on the microtransaction side that we expect to see when bandwidth is actually being transacted throughout the Packet network, we are seeing it just on the payment side with regards to people mining. And even if you're mining with a low-powered CPU and just getting paid millipackets per minute, you're still getting paid potentially as many times as 1,440 times or more per day. And that just is an incredible workload for these wallets. So there are wallets in our ecosystem, in the Packet ecosystem, that can't even support that. In particular, Electrum, we always say don't mine into Electrum wallet for this very purpose. There's more robust wallets like the Clee wallet, which has been able to handle this type of workload. And then the new wallets, which we'll talk about a little later in the report, are all working towards being able to support this. And anyone who forked the Klee wallet, such as the Packet World wallet, have been able to support mining. So there's going to be some great evolution in the ecosystem as we get further down the road.
Yeah, and something I'm really excited about is once the Lightning Network comes up, I'm really excited to see people mining and getting paid over the Lightning Network, because then you can get paid once every second. Why not? There's no real limits at that point, and that's where we're trying to go. We want people to have instantaneous, near free transactions, because that's how things should be. Did you hear about the fees on Ethereum the other day? I seemed to hear something like there was $100 fee to transact Ethereum at one moment.
Yeah, even more. And I've seen this actually just as recently as early this year and late last year, where there were $150 Ethereum gas fees just to do something with minting NFTs or sending an NFT or just sending a small amount of Ethereum. But obviously the load that was placed on the ApeCoin minting of their metaverse land sale was seeing fees as high as 2 ETH, $5,000-$6,000 Ethereum gas fees for minting. So I actually want to save that conversation when we get to Token Strike, because it's probably one of the most exciting parts of this upcoming report for me, was really getting to understand how that works. So let's come back to that in just a few.
Yeah, okay. So, we have the Anode VPN status, and I'm really excited about Anode VPN. I guess I have the Android, so I can actually show the audience here. This is my Anode VPN app in the wallet mode here. And this is real. And what's really important about this to notice is, if you look up at the top, it says 7 peers. See, when you have a wallet, if you're using like an Ethereum wallet or something, it's not connecting to 7 peers. It's connecting to whatever is that service provider that is hosting for those. That's not decentralization. This is an app that runs on your phone, and it's actually connecting to the peer-to-peer network. And I feel like we used to understand that in the cryptosphere, but a lot of that's been lost, and people, they just go for the convenience, but that convenience is at the cost of no longer really being decentralized.
Yeah, it's a really remarkable point, and we've been seeing that with Anode VPN app, also seeing it with the Anode mobile wallet app that's connecting to a lot of peers when it's downloading the chain. We'll see a lot more of that as more people install full nodes, and especially when we get to Lightning Network.
What's great about this Anode app is this has a full PLD in it, and we ran into some trouble a couple months ago. We had like the database was getting too big because it was storing too much data in the neutrino database, and then so we had to rework that database to store the block history data in a different way that would take much less space, and that way it would allow that app to run on a phone even with a million blocks. And the initial sync of the chain, it's like maybe 2 to 5 minutes. But again, we want to get that down, and we have ideas about how to lower that number even more.
Yeah, I've been super impressed with the alpha testing we've been doing on the Anode mobile wallet app for iOS, and how fast that chain has been syncing, 1,000,004 blocks and doing it in under 5 minutes. So it's been really, really impressive. And to your point, we'll be able to get that down with some more optimization.
Where should people go if they want to, install the app and try it out and do some alpha beta testing?
Yeah, so where we are right now with the Anode VPN app for Android is that anybody can download this app and install it from the GitHub right now. And it's I understand it's a little bit weird for some people to do that just because you're going to GitHub and it doesn't have the, easy UI that we're used to of the App Store. But if you are interested in testing, and we would love to have you do so, head over. The link is actually in the development report. It will take you right to the location where you can download that and get that installed on your Android. On the Anode mobile wallet app for iOS, again, we'll talk about that when we get a little bit further down It hasn't gotten into a public alpha yet because there's just a few bugs that we're having, and we'll talk a little bit about that coming up, but it's so close and we can't wait to get it in more people's hands. It does work, it's sending money, but there's just a couple crash bugs that we want to get through before we put it on more phones.
So Token Strike, the thing that we're all waiting for. I mean, it's where we are right now. I mean, we have code, we have tests that are passing. We don't have, it's not complete yet, but I guess to give everybody a little bit of background of what Token Strike is, the idea is it's ultra simple. Imagine that everybody just has their own blockchain and that's it. You don't need to pay fees to Ethereum if your token is not on top of Ethereum. So make your own blockchain. I mean, we did it. Why can't anyone? It's actually not that easy. But the point is we want to make it easy. With Token Strike, make it so that you can just roll a token, and that token is on its own blockchain. And instead of having proof of work to authorize the transactions on that blockchain, we just have the issuer of the token sign every block. And we believe that that's safe because the issuer, if the issuer of the token were to go dark and disappear, well, the token loses all its value because it's no longer redeemable for anything. So we believe the issuer is going to do the right thing. So any comments on your side about Token Strike?
Well, yeah, let's dovetail this into the ApeCoin conversation here, and by the way, there's going on, I think last time I checked, 19,000 cryptocurrencies in the world, and that number seems to be going up by a few hundred every week right now, which is just a remarkable, growth that we're seeing in the space. But again, these coins or tokens are being issued on other blockchains. And so you're essentially subservient to those other blockchains. I'd love for you to actually talk specifically about, subservience to the other blockchains, because when we were very early on in the packet, launch phase and early mining, people were always saying, you could achieve some of these goals by just building on top of Ethereum. And your reply was always, you can achieve these goals building on top of Ethereum. We created this blockchain for this purpose. And I think that's an important kind of, mentality to take, because when you have other projects that have the potential for high success, they should create their own blockchain, and they shouldn't be putting huge loads on these major blockchains. And so when you have a project of the magnitude of ApeCoin and Bored Apes and creating metaverses and land sales, having every single one of those transactions requiring gas fees, and especially when you create scenarios where you're getting huge convergence around a sale, then they call it gas wars. People are essentially fighting for authentication on the chain and who can be first, because there's a limited supply or some sort of urgency that's being created. And as a result of that, other people that are trying to use the chain for basic things, and this is the joke, it's like buy a $5 hamburger and pay $50 in gas fees. Like, that's an unreasonable cost to the consumer, and it makes it so that essentially cryptocurrency is just not tenable for most transactions in this world. And so it's almost incumbent on technologies to solve these problems. Ethereum, we know, is attempting to solve that. It's been working on ETH 2.0 for a long time. You're seeing proof of work coins, moving towards proof of stake. But there's inherent important elements that exist in the proof of work world. And so Token Strike really becomes a hybrid between these type of scenarios. So yeah, maybe talk a little bit more about that, Caleb, and effectively like how it works to have your own blockchain versus just building one that requires proof of work or proof of...
So what Token Strike is interesting for is a redeemable token. And a redeemable token is something that represents something else. So if I'm like issuing a token that is, so give me an example. I would love to be able to buy €1,000 worth of the butcher shop that's down the street. I would just invest into the butcher shop, and they could issue a butcher shop token, but I can't do that because they can't do that. So, and I mean, they can, and they could do it using Ethereum, but again, you're doing a transaction that costs more to do the transaction than what you actually wanted to do in the first place. And I think a lot of these Ethereum-based projects, they're having these great ideas, or the idea is theoretically great, and then the cost to do the thing is actually more than it would cost to pay a lawyer to just go through the process with paper. And it's like, well, what are you actually solving? And that's what I ask to a lot of projects. What are you actually solving? What are you making easier? You're not supposed to make it harder. You're supposed to make it easier. And there's obviously a lot of irrational exuberance in the Web3 world, but I digress. If you're doing something like Packet, something that's meant to be a protocol at the bottom level, then I say you want proof of work. You want to own your own blockchain. You want it to be a proof of work chain, and you want to not own your own blockchain. You want it to be a self-sovereign blockchain that uses, and the only way we know how to do self-sovereign blockchains is proof of work. Proof of stake doesn't really work. This has been discussed. Basically, proof of stake is the richest person has the power to decide what transactions go through and which ones don't. And there's a lot of drum banging about people that don't like proof of work right now. And the drum banging, I'm going to side with the Bitcoin people here. What makes decentralization work is proof of work. And that's just how it is. That's a reality. So where token strike comes in is when you want to do a redeemable token. You get gold in the vault, you got tokens to represent the gold, you have shares in the butcher shop, you have representation of stock in a company, whatever kind of tokens that you want to create that you're issuing them, you should be the owner of that. You should not put that onto, say you put on Ethereum, you're gonna have to pay Ethereum fees. You put it on Binance, it's gonna be cheaper, but you're gonna pay Binance Smart Chain fees. You can put it on Cardano and you're gonna pay Cardano fees. And if you put it on your own chain, then you don't pay any fees. And that's where we're trying to get, is to where you don't pay any fees. Now, what people will say is, well, it needs to be on Ethereum so it can be traded with other Ethereum tokens. And that's where I say, no, you should be trading tokens with other tokens over the Lightning Network using HTLC contracts. And that gets back to Lightning. Why Lightning is important? Because it allows you to create atomic swaps. So I can say to you, Jesse, I'm going to stage this transaction, and it will only go through and paying you some packet, and it will only go through if you make a transaction that pays me some Bitcoin, and then you can make the Bitcoin transaction, and those two transactions are atomically connected, even though they're on two different blockchains. And so Lightning Network makes that all possible, and that's why we don't need everything to be on the Ethereum chain or the Cardano or whatever chain.
That's the innovation right there. So let's get back into just development. You've obviously been working on this for about a year. Well, it was ideated long before that, but really kind of brass tacks development is going on for actually coming up on the 1 year anniversary of that contract. And I know that they have gotten through a bunch of milestones that have not been submitted yet. And you did a bunch of vetting and created the requirement for them to go and bring in a senior, developer to prove the code, so it's not just you making those approvals. So just maybe give a little bit of background on kind of where you've gotten to.
It's being done by a team. I don't have that much time. It's being developed by a team. They have done. They did some work in 2021. Then this whole Russia-Ukraine thing happened, and they had to make a very quick exit from where they were living. So we're hoping to get it back on track again. What's been done is a bunch of work that's to the point of passing tests, and so there's automated tests that are passing. But where we need to get to is really to have a command line wallet app that you can say, okay, issue token, okay, subscribe to this token, okay, transact, and so on and so forth. The things that you typically do, with a wallet. So anyway, that's kind of the next step from that is I want to see a basic application, command line application that allows you to do those activities.
Yeah, and they've written all the data structures. You were approving of the data structures. That was in our previous report. And then it seems like they have some code that's ready to go. And they indicated most recently that they would be providing that application that would be able to run those commands.
Yeah. What they have now is they have code and it has tests and the tests pass. That's what we have. So where we need to get from here is to actually having an application that you can use.
Yeah, and look, I think this is an important thing too, and part of the process with developing technologies, and for people who just have an app on their iPhone and that's their experience to technology or services, it can feel very esoteric in what is being done with these type of development cycles. And so just to give a little context, essentially you're writing this basically a command line, in this case token strike command line code, and at that point that code all works, then you would be able to add the front end to it, which is essentially like a UI UX interface that will feel much more familiar to your normal app. So first we're building this underlying kind of the engine of how this functions, and then once that all checks out, then you can put the pretty call to action buttons on the front of it and dialog boxes where you can type in information, and it will feel like something that you would see on a website or an app. But up until that point, you're looking at repos on GitHub and it just looks like a foreign language, and it really is. And so we're moving as quickly through that process so that we can get to the front end stuff.
Exactly.